and welcome to KnightHunter Books. Welcome to the second part of our slightly insane February haul. This half is around books that we just bought, that were not related to a bookish event in some way. Though, arguably, our weekend in Bristol ended up being quite bookish. That wasn't organised, that was just us going, ooh, new bookshops!
Yes. So the first thing I picked up is a little strange, but also looks a lot of fun. It is Biketopia, feminist bicycle science fiction stories in extreme futures. So dystopias, utopias. What I didn't realise is this is actually like the 4th volume of feminist science fiction stories about bicycles, which is kind of amazing. I don't really like bicycles, but I like the idea. This is a short story collection, not with any authors that I've heard of, but the topic sounds interesting and it's only quite short. We picked this up in Hydra Books in Bristol, which is a shop that has a little bit of fiction, but I think is mainly political books, very much on the left side of the political spectrum.
So left, in fact, that they don't take cards. We had to walk around the corner to a cash machine so we could buy it.
True.
My first one is Capitalist Catnip by comparison. This is Robots vs. Fairies. It's an anthology put together around basically genre smashing. When the lasers get turned off and all the fairy dust has settled, who wins, robots or fairies? The author list is a veritable who's who of modern genre fiction. Kat Valenti, Alyssa Wong, John Scalzi, Lavie Tidar, Annalie Newitt, Shauna Maguire, Ken Liu, Mary Robert Kowal, Jim Hines, Max Gladstone, Delilah Dawson. So yeah, just a few authors I like.
The next place where we got pretty much the rest of these books, I think, is FOP, which is, I think, a chain just in the UK. I think it might be associated with HMV in some way, which normally sells records, CDs, DVDs. But it turns out it actually has a decent book selection. Well, ish. And they're all really cheap.
The minimum amount we had to want the books.
Yes.
To actually buy them dropped quite a bit.
Yeah, so we got all these on 2 for £5. So this includes a list of books that I've kind of had my eye out for many, many years. The first of which is Elie Wiesel's Night, which is a very short memoir following their time in Auschwitz. They were a Jew in the Second World War. I did a bit of research at some point, and this is meant to be one of the best accounts. So yes, I'm expecting to be utterly destroyed by this. And will have to be in a very particular type of mood to want that.
My next one is The End of the Day by Clare North. This continues her run of literary novels with fantastical elements. This follows a gentleman called Charlie who visits people to let them know their life is about to end. So, you know, the end of the day. I get the impression this is quite an angry political book. So I've really enjoyed the other Clare North books, so it'd be interesting to see how this one turns out.
The next two were Orwell books, Animal Farm and Down and Out in Paris and London, which I mainly bought because the covers are really beautiful. I love this style. I already own 1984 in this particular edition, so I kind of liked the idea that I was able to get the set.
Especially for £2.50 each.
Yeah, exactly. Animal Farm I've already read, but a very long time ago for school, so I think I would probably quite like to reread that again at some point. I think I kind of had mixed feelings about it. I remember having a conversation with my mum afterwards who said, but it's really interesting how political it was, and I went, it was political? So...
Your English teacher was terrible.
That might be before I'd actually had it taught, just when I was reading it as prep, but yes, I was not the most observant in thinking about the implications of what I was reading. I thought it was about animals. Down and Out in Paris and London is, I think, a true story, or a memoir of sorts, of Orwell's time kind of on the streets, talking to mainly kind of homeless people, which I have heard good things about, and I'd quite like to read more Orwell, because I really loved 1984, so I feel like I should try his other stuff.
The next one is Joanna Ross's The Female Man, which probably been in the back of our heads for a while. I think actually this stood out as being one of the few masterworks they had available by a woman. I believe this is 3 or 4 novelettes about women in different worlds where gender is thought of differently. Sort of investigating the differences between all those different ways of arranging things. So that should be interesting.
My next one is Scarlett Thomas's Our Tragic Universe. I've read a couple of her books before and really, really liked them, although I have seen reviews to say that those are probably the best 2. So I'm not sure I'm going to like this as much, but I've read 2 of her books and really liked them. I should surely keep going a little bit more. I've read the back of this, but I'm still not really sure what it's about. Scarlett Thomas kind of does a mishmash of things. It's kind of mostly for a literary audience, but definitely has some kind of weird stuff in there that could be considered just plain fantasy, sci-fi, or just magical realism. I think the main character is trying to work out a connection between a wild beast on Dartmoor, a ship in a bottle, the science of time, and a knitting pattern for the shape of the universe. So...
sounds like Dirt Gently, but for literary.
Maybe. Yeah, so I'm intrigued to see how I get on with this, because there are definitely some other books I could try of hers if I do like this.
We also finally picked up Colson Whitehead's The Underground Railroad, which I think has been in the back of my head as something I'd like to pick up for a while. Follows a recent run of novels that take expressions or metaphors and make them real. So in this world, the Underground Railroad that escaped slaves used to escape to the north is a literal railroad. I suspect that is not in fact the majority of the book. It's just sort of the underlying fantastical conceit. Certainly has won a lot of awards and is very well thought of, so should be interesting.
And interestingly, both literary awards and science fiction awards?
Yeah.
Which is rare.
I think it's got the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction and the Clark Award.
The last 2 books I picked up, which are both non-fiction, I think because I've been reading actually some non-fiction this year, I feel like I'd quite like to have a few more choices to pick from on my TBR shelf, which is a brilliant excuse to go out and buy more books, even when I have lots on my shelf already. So one of these is Superforecasting, The Art and Science of Prediction by Philip Tetlock and Dan Gardner. I kind of work in forecasting, so this is a little bit of a book that might just
really
be
expensive
for the good of my career, maybe? But forecasting is something I find interesting, and I'd quite like to read a kind of popular science approach on it rather than academic papers. The other one is Do Good Better by William McCaskill, which is a kind of ethics book. Don't really know anything about ethics, didn't study it at school. I mean, I hope I've got a fundamental understanding, but I've not been taught it.
Been getting a bit of a crash course via The Good Place recently, the Netflix show.
The subtitle is Effective Altruism and a Radical New Way to Make a Difference. I'm kind of a practical soul, so I like the idea of being really efficient in everything I do. So I'll kind of be interested to see if I can learn something from this, in particular for, giving to charities and things like that.
My last one is Neuromancer by Bill Gibson, which I actually already own, but I own a really grotty second-hand edition that somebody, sitting not too far away, has been putting off reading because he's ugly.
No, it's also like the font's horrible and the pages are poor quality, and I'm a snob.
So I actually really like the reissue covers of the original Blue Ant trilogy by Bill Gibson, so we picked this up for cheap to replace it. And, it doesn't take up any more space on the to read pile, so that's a plus. It's one of the foundational novels in the cyberpunk movement, which I read a very long time ago, so I remember very little about it. But it does famously start with, the sky above the port was the colour of television tuned to a dead channel, which has aged badly as first sentences go, given that TV is tuned to a dead station now. probably come up hard blue with a white text box in the middle going, "This channel isn't broadcasting. Would you like to do something else?" Which I don't think is quite what he was going for.
That is everything we bought in February. All of it. It's now March, so we can safely say that. And we've even resisted buying anything in March so far, being a couple of days in. Just.
Skin of our teeth. Walked out to Waterstones the other day with 4 books. It's like, well, they're on buy one, get one half price. Should we? No, we'll be good.
We didn't walk out of the shop with 4 books.
No.
Would be illegal.
Walked out to the shop knowing that there were 4 books on the offer that we wanted.
Yeah.
That we haven't bought yet. They might not be on offer next time we go back. Did we make the right call? Probably.
Find
we have
out
enough books.
this time next month.
Check in next month to see if we had to buy a bigger house.
Yeah. More reading, less buying. That's our early year go crazy. Now we might need to hold back a bit.
And how did we spend yesterday?
Playing video games.
And watching TV.
Yeah, we're super. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again soon.